Yoga by Stephanie Mia. So since you guys run my show, I have listened to the masses and I'm gonna do a voiceover. I'm gonna try to give you what I gave when I just was speaking, but it's gonna be fine because yeah, we're gonna do the do. So it's a nice and juicy routine for your hips, focusing on hip mobility, hip flexibility, and these drills are what I use in my personal practice before I start my splits. It really helps me warm up and prepare myself. So I'm gonna jump right in and I hope you guys follow along. I hope it's beneficial for you, and if you do this routine 2 to 3 times a week, I'm sure you're gonna see some results. To begin our practice, we're gonna go to the back of our mat, stand in mountain pose, arms come up, look towards the ceiling, big inhale. When you come down, you exhale, breathing out. Drop the head, inhale, arms come up, look towards the ceiling. And exhale, keeping a slight bend in your knee. Good job. So while you're in forward fold, you can decide if you would like your fingertips to stay on the mat or if you want to put your entire palm on the mat. And this, of course, will be dependent on your hamstring flexibility as well as your calves, actually. So the entire back side of your leg. So here we're going to do a couple reps to pedal the legs. Start with the right and then left. Keep breathing while you do this. Right and left. Good job. Right, left, just a couple more. Right, left. Good job. Bend both knees, arms come up. Look toward the ceiling, arms overhead. And exhale. On this forward fold, you're gonna bend both knees and come to a crouching position as you take it into your first tabletop of the practice. Good job. From here, we're gonna go straight into cat-cow. Belly towards the mat, inhale. Exhale, cat. Good job. Inhale, big breath. And exhale. Good job. Great, send the hips up and back into downward facing dog. Lift that right leg. Good job. From here, you're gonna want to bend that leg and reach forward so you come into your first lunge for the practice. Here, just finding your balance and getting used to this posture before we take it a step further. Soon you want to bring that right hand inside of our right leg and then slowly lower the back left leg. Great. From this slow lunge, we're going to prepare ourselves to come into lizard variation. But before we do so, we're just going to get comfortable here. What you can do if you have a big textbook or any big book or yoga block, you can place that block under your back leg. That way you can bring the ground a bit closer to you to de-intensify that stretch. You're going to still feel it in your hip flexor and hamstrings. It's just a bit more comfortable if you don't have enough space yet. So just choose whichever variation is best for you. You will still get the same benefits. And in my low lunge, I also like to focus on how my hips are feeling. So sometimes I like to add a little pressure, keeping my hips squared, ensuring my knees are over my ankles as much as possible, looking ahead of me. Good job. If you're feeling a little spicy, you can also do some cat-cows in this variation. I find that it's super helpful when I'm stretching the back side of my body, especially my nervous system. Sometimes we feel a slight sensation in our deep stretches, and doing this helps to just relax ourselves so we can comfortably explore these poses. From here, I'm going to go onto my forearms. This is my lizard variation. You can see that my right toes are slightly off the mat as I go onto my forearms. So this may be an intense stretch. So what you can do, you can bring a block and rest your forearms on that block. I think sometimes we underestimate the value of yoga props because what would not be comfortable for us or accessible for us right away, they just help to bridge the gap. So if you need to, please, I implore you to use your yoga props. And we're coming back out of this lizard pose back into our low lunge, into a half split. We can point and flex in our half split, ensuring that our hips are above our knees as much as possible. Again, by pointing and flexing, you're allowing yourself to get used to this intense stretch in its different variations. We're going to do a couple more rounds of pointing and flexing and pointing our leg in the half split before we take it to the other side. We're going to come back to tabletop. Wrists are underneath your shoulders, hips are over your knees, and curl your toes under. Send the hips up and back as you come into your downward facing dog. From here, lift the left leg up, slight bend in the leg, carry it as close to your chest as possible, and plant that left leg forward. You're once again back into your high lunge. You bring your left hand inside of your left leg and shimmy that left leg over to the edge of your mat. Good job. So we're lowering our back leg again, coming into our low lunge variation. We're preparing ourselves once again for lizard. So in low lunge, get comfortable, breathe deeply here. And if you want, you can cat-cow in this pose as well. Here I'm ensuring that my hips are still squared and my knees are still over my ankles. Just take your time and get accustomed to this posture. It's a very deep stretch, and the more you do it, the better it is for you. I am shimmying my left leg over to the edge of my mat as I come onto my forearms. And again, you can use your blocks to help you if you need the ground to be a bit closer to you. Just as we did on the right side, we're going to stay in this lizard variation, trying to get maximum benefits from this posture. The longer you stay in a position, the more you get accustomed to it and the more benefits you get from it. So sometimes yoga will be a bit more slow or a slower pace, and that's okay. From here, we're going to send the hips back into half split once again, pointing and flexing that leg, getting used to the different stretches. This one focusing on our hamstrings, and our knees, and our calves. Let me tell you, it's just as important as anything else. Send that leg back into tabletop. You're going to send the knees as wide as the mat. Come into extended child's pose and rest your head gently on the mat. Nice. Nice, taking a well-deserved break before we move into some more hip mobility exercises. Take a nice inhale here and exhale. One more time, inhale and exhale. On your next inhale, come back up to tabletop position. Bring the knees under your hips, shoulders in line with the wrists. As we lift our right leg up to prepare for hip circles. Bring that knee forward, down, and back. I'm going to stay here for a couple more rotations. Breathing as you go. Inhale and exhale. Just like that. Inhale and exhale. Nice. Remember, we're still trying to keep the hips as squared as possible. Even with this rotation, reverse it. Back, down, side, up, down. Nice. From here, we're going to go straight into toe taps towards the back and towards the side. Try to keep your weight as evenly distributed as possible while you do this. So it's kind of a 2-for-1, strengthening those hips as we engage our abs. Tap, tap, nice. Tap, tap, good job. Before we take it to the other side, we're going to come back and sit on our heels and give yourselves a nice little massage. I know we're working hard. You can take a big inhale here and exhale and come back into tabletop. Nice. So you're gonna lift that left leg just as we did on the right, taking that knee forward to the side and down and back up. Good job. We're gonna sync up our breaths. Inhale and exhale. Nice. We'll do the same thing for a couple more rotations, ensuring that our weight remains as balanced as possible in both our palms. Just a couple more before we reverse it. Nice. On the back, you're gonna go forward, to the side, back, and down. Syncing up the breath. Inhale and exhale. And exhale. Good job. Just as we did on the right side, we're going to go straight into toe taps on the left. Tap, tap. Nice. Keeping our weights as evenly distributed as possible, engaging our core, syncing up the breath. Inhale, exhale, inhale, and exhale. Keep it going. Nice. Almost there and done. Send the hips back, sit on your heels. Give yourself a nice massage. Job well done. We're gonna come into an intense static pose for our hip opener, so let's just take a minute to enjoy the nice little break that we have here, preparing ourselves mentally to always try something, even though it seems daunting. From here, we're gonna come into what we call a frog pose, and I'm explaining that our knees are gonna move away from our midline as we try to push our pelvis as close to the floor as possible. Now, sometimes you can use a pillow for support to rest your torso on, but let's just take it step by step to see how we get into this pose. Just like I do in down dog, I always go to a tabletop first to get my alignment right. It's the basis of every good posture. So as I've said before, you're gonna come back into a tabletop position. Extend the knees as wide as you possibly can, keeping your feet parallel with the floor. So I'm turning out from my ankles as much as possible, and my knees are as far away from each other as possible. So my knees are moving away from my center line, right? My weight, I'm internally pushing my pelvis towards the floor, and my knees are in one straight line. So you're trying to ensure that one knee isn't higher than the other or lower than the other, or that your glutes are not either coming forward too much or backward too much, because that will also cheat the stretch. So you want to ensure that your knees are in line with your glutes and your glutes are in line with your knees, all the while turning out from your ankles. It's a very intense and deep stretch, but the more you do it, the more benefits you will see. This not only aids with flexibility and hip mobility, it also helps to relieve back pain. I know a lot of us have a sedentary lifestyle. Me especially, I sit in the office from 9 to 5 or 8:30 to 5. So this is literally my go-to to help relieve some pressure that I will feel in my lower back. So we're staying here for a few more moments, breathing deeply and focusing on our breath. Of course, this may be uncomfortable, but just try to, as long as you're not in pain, just try to breathe through the sensation. Not that I'm encouraging you to do this right now, but sometimes when I'm in this posture, especially when I just started yoga, I would literally open up Netflix and watch a movie or watch a whole episode in this position. No, this was after a couple times of doing this, because obviously you're going to have an intense sensation the first couple times. Sometimes I just got bored, so that was my go-to. But for now, I would just say, think of it as in 1 minute you'll be out of this position and you'll feel so much better. If you've gotten comfortable and you've created enough space, you can come onto your forearms and just try to be present. I'm gonna switch my view so you can see what I'm doing. I also like to rock back and forth, creating some movement, creating space. And as you can see, my rest stop or my reset is my glutes in line with my knees. So when I'm rocking back and forth, you can see where I'm pushing my glutes forward and backward. Now, that is only when I'm moving. When I'm stationary, then my glutes are in line with my knees. And this alignment helps get the most out of the stretch as much as possible. If you can, if you're on the more flexible side, if your hips are more open, you can rest your chest on the mat. But please do not rush this. It is a process. We're going to be here next week again working on this. So just take your time and appreciate where you are in your journey. One of the most important things I can also tell you about frog pose is how to come out of it. Now, your knees are spread far on the mat. So what you can do is inch and inch and inch your knees together. So put most of your weight in your palms and inch your knees to your midline until your knees are together, and sit back on your heels. It's just as important how you come out of a pose as how you go in. You do not want injuries here, so just be mindful of what you're doing. Our hip opening and hip mobility practice is winding down, but before we close, I want us to try one more active stretch. This focuses on our hip flexors. It's such an important muscle, and because we sit at our desk at a 90-degree angle, it weakens over time, especially with age. So what I want you to do is bring your any knee as close to your chest as possible, and we're going to lift our leg that is still elongated on the mat. We're lifting from our hip flexors. Our quads will of course help us, but the majority of that weight is coming from our core and our hip flexors. I'm going to switch sides. I'm going to try on the other side as well. Breathing here as we go, focusing on the sensation, focusing on activating that hip flexor muscle. We're going to repeat that process one more time. Lift, lift, lift. Good job. And hold. 3, 2, and 1. Switch sides. Bring that knee as close to your chest as we engage the hip flexors and lift on the left side. Hold it. Hold it. Nice, release. Good job. Great, so we have made it towards the end of our practice. We're gonna just wind down, closing with a few stretches. If you've been to my in-person class, you know I always do this. Bring your right knee up and bring it to the left side of your body, using your left hand as a gentle weight. This will create a nice stretch in your spine. Sometimes your back will actually crack or crick. It's a really great sensation. And we're going to switch to the other side. So your right hand is on top of your left knee as you come and turn to the right side. From here, bring your ankles as wide as a yoga mat and your hands rest gently by your side. We are now in Shavasana, and we want to just slow down as we come towards the end of our practice. From here, just take a couple breaths, inhaling deeply. Exhale. Take the biggest breath you've taken all day. Inhale. And exhale. Thank you for sharing your practice with me. Namaste, and I will see you soon.